Welcome to Positive Perspectives, a podcast dedicated to sharing powerful stories that present opportunities to grow from lived experiences. Each week we speak to expert guests who bring thought-provoking topics, meaningful lessons, or stories that spark transformation and deeper understanding. Today I'm speaking to Osaro Otobo, a strategic transformation consultant, an award-winning international speaker, and founder of Make Diversity Count. She helps organizations unlock performance and purpose by embedding inclusion into leadership, strategy, and governance. Alongside her consultancy work, Osaro is a community builder, former England basketball player, and Olympic torch bearer, passionate about creating spaces where every story and voice can thrive. Hi, Osaro. Welcome to Positive Perspectives.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
It's a pleasure to see you here. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself and what you're going to be sharing with us today?
Yes. So I'm Osaro. Lovely to be here. So today I want to talk about what it's like sometimes to feel like the only person that's like you in the room, but not allowing that to hold you back. We all have differences, things that make us unique, and we need to own that and learn how to own our story, own our voice, and using that helps us achieve goals and dreams, sometimes things we might not have even dreamt about being possible. So I want to share that today.
Thank you. Thanks, Osaro. So you're speaking about lived experiences that have shaped you into the leader that you are today.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Let's hear your story.
So the name of my story today is Turning Challenges into Platforms from Exclusion to Empowerment. I'd like to start off from when I was younger. I was brought up in East London on a council estate, born to two Nigerian parents. And I really enjoyed my time there. It was a very vibrant place, lots of diversity. I didn't feel like the odd one out. And then things started to change when I moved to a less diverse part of London. I stood out. I mean, I was 6 foot tall at like 10 years old. So I stood out anyway because of my height. But I stood out because of other things like the color of my skin, things that I was interested in, like music. I listened to a broad range of music, but one of my favorite genres is rock music. And I was told that it was weird to be a Black person that listened to rock music. So there were lots of things that made me me, and suddenly I was told that it was a bit odd. So I had to find some sort of strength and confidence to not let other people's opinions bring me down. I represented England in basketball and went on to win things like a European silver medal, ended up carrying the Olympic torch as well. So all of those people who made fun of my height, well, it allowed me to do something great and represent my country and bring pride to my family. Things like the sort of music that I was interested in. Because I was confident enough to carry on listening to that sort of music openly, I met some really fantastic people, and that even led me on to do some really cool things like create music content at Glastonbury, for Burna Boy, for example. I've been in music videos as well. So that's pretty cool. I guess one of the big things that was a big challenge or learning point for me in my story was when I went to university and I went to a space that was not diverse at all. Again, I felt very different, but I found my community through sports and the Afro-Caribbean Society in my first year. I enjoyed my time as a student, and it led me to be president of my students' union. I got elected, re-elected as well, so I was president for 2 years. And it was a really fantastic opportunity for me as a young person. Suddenly, I was in the world of work. I was learning more about higher education, business, governance. I got to do a lot of work in diversity and inclusion as well, because not a lot of work was done in that space. My predecessors were not very interested in that sort of work, but being the first Black woman to ever hold that post, and also the first woman in 9 years that they ever had in that post, I saw things that maybe others before me didn't. And it was a great learning experience professionally. But then there were some very challenging things in relation to racism, discrimination through staff members that were my colleagues, trustee board members, as well as students. It was quite a difficult time. And thankfully, I made it out through the other side. And again, I just had to find that sort of inner confidence and resilience. I wouldn't let any racist people be the reason why the first Black woman president of the Students' Union would quit. I wouldn't let that be the reason why. And because of that experience, it led me on to the work that I do today, make diversity count. I really wanted something positive to come out from the whole experience. I wanted some change, positive change to happen. And Make Diversity Count was launched as a campaign. And now it's a social impact organization, and I deliver things like anti-racism training. I mentor young Black student leaders, young leaders from other marginalized groups. And I really enjoy what I do. And I feel like all of those difficult points I had in my life, now I'm able to turn it into something really good and positive.
And congratulations for being on the England team and also a torchbearer. But what lessons did sport actually help you or to learn about your identity, about resilience, or about belonging?
Sport has played a massive part of who I am. Sport taught me discipline. So I used to train 2 to 3 times a week. I used to play matches once or twice a week. So there were some weeks when I was doing basketball every day. And no matter how tired you are, you need to perform, you need to show up for your teammates. You need to prepare, you need to sleep well, you need to eat well. And so sport really taught me the importance of, having a goal and being prepared to put the work in to achieve the goal. So all of those fantastic wins that we got, trophies, medals that I got with my basketball clubs, I wouldn't have been able to achieve that if I didn't have that sort of mindset of this is very important. You need to be disciplined, you need to be prepared. And also sport taught me the importance of you don't need to do everything on your own. I played a team sport, so it's impossible to do anything on your own in a team sport. But it's also important to ensure you're not just focused on yourself, but you're focused on uplifting the people around you. So if you can see a teammate is having an off day, an off game, what can you do to help uplift them and remind them of their skills, their power, like they've got this. If you're not prepared to do that, then there's no way your team can be successful. And I think that's an important lesson to take throughout life. Yes, you need to focus on yourself, but also it's so important to think about your community, your wider community around you, and what can you do to help uplift people around you.
So, when you were talking about university and being, congratulations, the first Black woman in that post and the first woman for however many years in that post, and you spoke about even colleagues that were, quite racist towards you, how did that experience influence your confidence and your sense of self?
Very great. I guess that experience, it did knock my confidence quite a bit. It didn't make me question a few things about myself, but then again, those things were going on internally in my mind, and there was a point where I had to just be logical and say, these people are wrong, and I can't let them win. You can't let people who are racist or discriminatory win. And it really taught me the importance of self-care. Exercise is a big part of my life because of sports. And sometimes when you're feeling down, you might not want to be active and do anything like that. And there's been times when I've not been as active, and I can really see how it affects my mood. And that time in my life just taught me the importance of like making me time. You can do the best you can do in your job. You need to be able to take care of yourself, whether it is doing exercise, whether it's having a massage, a facial, whether it's eating well, going for a nice long walk. So I think that really made me realize, probably for like the first time in my life, the importance of just having self-care time.
So, right up my street, I'm loving the whole piece around self care, looking after yourself, because you are the person that has to show up and you're the person that has to give your all. And if you haven't got the energy or not enough fuel in the tank to actually do that, then you're not giving you're not presenting yourself in your
Mm.
true sense. So that's very important. Thank you for sharing that. So, can you tell us what sparked you to create a
Yeah.
diversity count?
So make diversity count. It came about because I wanted to tell my story of, racism and discrimination in the workplace, in education, in charities, because being an elected student officer, a president of a students' union, you're in an odd middle ground where you're overlapping with education, with business and charities. So there was just a lot of insights that I had. And the sad thing is, I know that I'm not alone with like the experiences of discrimination in the workplace. I was told that I shouldn't talk about my experience by some of the people that were within the organization. Probably they were worried about reputational risk. But I always knew that one day it would be important to talk about it. And I wanted to talk about it in the right way. I wanted to be able to tell my story, but have something attached to it that is a real call to action. And so I said it was quite a negative time, and it took me a while to build up the confidence to feel comfortable talking about my experience. And it was actually a year later, I was able to launch Make Diversity Count as a campaign and some support with change.org. I had a petition that I launched alongside it with a call to action. I basically wanted it to be a legal requirement for all organizations to have anti-discrimination policy. And I gave some like points about what should be included in that, especially when it comes to like reporting incidences of racism and discrimination. So that's why I felt like it was important to talk about it. It can't be that other people who might not have a voice aren't able to share their story. And so when I was able to talk about my story, lots of people came forward about saying, I completely understand. I went through a similar experience. And I think it empowered other people to, realize, it's not okay. And like organizations that do this sort of thing, like we can't be protecting them with our silence. It's really interesting because I just wanted to talk about my story, have that call to action with the petition, but then it morphed into something much, much bigger. People from different organizations wanted me to deliver talks, deliver workshops, training, mentor, deliver reviews of diversity and inclusion. And one of my fears of like speaking out, I knew I wanted to, but I was worried about the reaction. I was worried that some people would send me abuse or, tell me that I should just shut up and just get on with it. But actually, I had overwhelmingly positive response. And that was 5 years ago now. It was our 5 year anniversary this summer. And I couldn't have dreamed that I would be where I am today. I was so nervous 5 years ago when I like closed my eyes to like hit send when I was launching the campaign, and like now I get to help young people who are in similar positions, organizations that really want to make a change, and it just feels really really good, and it makes me really happy.
Well, that is a testament to yourselves. Congratulations again for 5 years of Make Diversity Count, and also for having the courage to press go and send so that it's a platform for others, as you said, a platform for others to come alongside and share their stories as well. So it would be very interesting to know what you think the differences are between organisations who just talk about inclusion and those that actually start to create an inclusive culture.
I think those that just talk about inclusion, you often might see them post like I don't know, a social media post for an awareness day or month, and it's not attached to a real action plan. I
Mm.
think those that really want to make change and they don't see it as a tick box exercise, they always try and pair up a statement or a post with like some tangible actions that they want to take forward. Another thing is that some organizations might think it's okay to like just have like a one-off training session, and that's the box ticked for diversity for the year. But the ones that I see who really want to make a difference, they'll have the training, but then they want to know like what next after the training. How can we have longer term support, whether it's external long term support or whether it's building up the capacity internally to have that support, whether it's they can recruit someone who has an EDI role to help them or hire an external consultant. So those are the sorts of things that I see. Another thing is being able to see leadership that are willing to put their hands up if they've made a mistake in the past, and leadership that's not afraid to hear the voices of people who are within their organization. I think I've been really impressed by organizations who have wanted to have like one-to-one meetings given to like all of their colleagues. So an external independent consultant can like hear what they think about what's good, what needs to be improved. So that can actually help shape diversity and inclusion strategy or action plan. So those are like the hallmarks, I think, of someone that takes it seriously and not just a tick box exercise.
Yeah. I've been working with an organisation who ingrains it, embeds it in all of who they are and what they do. So they have programs, continual programs throughout the years and in stages. So you advance from one to the other. And new people that are coming in will get those programs, and also there'll be recaps. There are also groups where people can talk, even around well-being, because that's very important for people's well-being to be able to have conversations that may be of some discomfort and start to articulate themselves and what they're feeling, so that can then inform policy, inform how organizations move forward. Thank you. So, from your heritage or community, what continues to give you strength?
When I think about, it's not just one story, it's a collection of stories and understanding lots of different experiences. And I think the overwhelming thing that gives me strength is understanding. I think about like Nigeria and what things were like, before slavery and colonization and all of that. There was a lot of creativity there. There still is, but there was a lot of creativity there. And if you go to like the British Museum, you can see all of the things that were taken that's on display, and it frustrates me a lot. It was helpful to remind myself like we're a great people. And you see like Nigerian designers, like one of my very good friends is an incredible designer and she's taken the fashion world by storm. So I just think stories like that, hearing how, brilliant we can be and having something negatively done, but not allowing that to stop generations and generations like achieve their dreams. These everyday problems that I may encounter, like I can tackle it. I'm strong, but I can also be soft. I feel one of the things that I don't like is when people think, oh, Black people are just strong all of the time. So we can be strong, we can have resilience, but we should still have the space to like be soft and take care of our well-being and everything. I think that those are the sorts of things that give me strength.
And that's a rich culture. That's a rich culture that from almost parallels the discussion that we're having today in terms of your journey from something that was very negative. You've actually risen. And when you said rise, I was just thinking of Maya Angelou's poem, Rise. If you could share one story that can empower others to embrace resilience, what would that be?
If I could share one story, so one of my very, very, very good friends, I think about our times in school. When I think about how she was labeled as a troublemaker, and, oh, she won't achieve anything, blah, 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 by like really like negative teachers. And unfortunately, that's a common story with a lot of Black children in schools. But when I think about what she went through, and then where she is now, she's probably like one of the like most successful people that I know. She didn't let anyone who labeled her as bad stop her from being like one of the most amazing like business people today. And I just want to share that story because often people may put their own projections on you and label you. And you need to have that inner confidence, resilience to know actually I am a good person. Just because I don't fit their box, that's not a bad thing. I can go on to achieve great things. So yeah, I just thought I'd share that story because it's nice having someone that inspires me and I can look to.
That's a lovely story, a story where maybe a lot of us can actually resonate with. In that, when we were at school, maybe we were curious, and there's nothing wrong with being curious, it's quite healthy.
Hmm.
So then, if the structure that you're in doesn't allow for curiosity, then you fall outside of that and you kind of slightly labeled in a negative way. And then after that, that journey becomes a bit more difficult because it's hard to shed the label. But in some instances, like yourself, it's something that you then stand up and say, well, I'm not taking this label on board. This is who I am, and I'm going to be who I am, and I'm going to celebrate who I am, and I'm going to do and be who I know I can be. So maybe there's an air of confidence that actually comes from that if you have the strength and the resilience to push up against it.
Definitely. And again, I think it goes back to the importance of having a good community around you, whether it's parents, family, friends, people being able to give you that strength as well when you might falter at times. I think that's so important.
Yes, thank you. So, looking forward and looking at an inclusive culture, what would that look like? And what sort of steps that can we and our listeners take to build an inclusive future today?
I think that being able to have open conversations is really key. I think when people are scared to talk, when there is silence within an organization, that's when a lot of bad things can happen. So trying to build a culture that allows people to express any concerns they might have, any feedback they might have, I think it's really important. And it's important for the leadership to allow that space to be created. They need to lead by example and show that, it's okay to openly talk about things that might not be so great or things that are great. Like we need to be able to understand that not everything is perfect. So that's one of the number one things, having open conversations, I think is key. Another thing is probably being able to invest in your people, no matter what their backgrounds are. I really like it when I see organizations take things very carefully when it comes to personal development. They offer a whole range of different things that people can get involved with, whether it's training or conferences, and it allows the employees to feel like they matter. So I feel like that's another key of like building an inclusive culture, having those sorts of like personal development resources available to everyone. I think being able to like live out values. I think what I hate is like having performative things happening within organizations. If they, it's Black History Month in October, and organizations that suddenly say, "Oh, yeah, we care about Black people, but you don't talk about Black people at all at any point in the year." So you need to be authentic with what you're saying around inclusion and diversity. Inclusive cultures happen when you can back up your statements with action. So yeah, that would be the third thing.
Yeah. So when you were talking about spaces, I was thinking of safe spaces, like psychologically safe spaces, because if organizations haven't built a culture whereby people feel that they can actually talk about their feelings or talk about what's going on and have those uncomfortable conversations and not feel judged or not feel isolated by it, then that is a culture that's going to hold them back. And it's not also not going to help the business, because the
Mm.
business won't thrive either. So that goes on to the point we were talking about growth and learning. When people grow, the business grows. So it's really
Exactly.
important some sort of programs to support the growth of your organization and the employees, the people that are within it, because
Exactly.
our organizations are made up of people and people are human beings. So, Sarah, thank you so much for talking to us. We've had such a rich conversation today. But I'd like to ask you if there's one positive takeaway that you have for our audience today.
I love listening to music. I've mentioned this. I quite enjoy like using lyrics as like affirmations. One of the things that I try to live by, they have a lyric that says, "Don't waste your time, or time will waste you." And I think about it in like a very positive way. Like we all are on this earth. We don't know how much time we have, and because of that reason, why not go for what you want to do? Don't let fear be the thing holding you back. There are so many exciting things to do. I'm sure you have lots of goals and dreams that you might not have been able to achieve yet. So don't let the fear of embarrassment hold you back. Like make the most of your time. Enjoy it. Don't waste it.
Yeah, time is precious, huh?
Yes.
Thank you, Osaro, for sharing such a powerful story or stories of resilience, of strength, and belonging. And if that room doesn't look like you, the way you show up, fully show up and change that narrative. Thank you, Sario.
Thank you.